Welcome to Financial Planning Explained, and I'm your host, Mike Menninger, Certified Financial Planner, owner and founder of Menninger and Associates Financial Planning. I'm pleased to have this week in our episode dovetailing from last week when I had Sean Montague, Engineering Director at Merck. He was my guest last week. This week I have Bob Matje, who's a principal at RemTech LLC. And I think there's a lot of dovetailing that we can do that goes from what Sean does over at Merck to what Bob does. And so today, Bob, welcome to my show. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much for having me, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here.
Bob, tell me a little bit about what you do, and then we'll kind of just pivot and go from there.
Sure. I'm a pharmaceutical consultant, and RemTech LLC provides technical solutions for clients that are in regulated environments. And we typically bucket that in three categories. We work in the project management arena where we work with capital projects, manage scope, schedule, cost, integration of the work. We work in the technical services area where we provide solutions to clients that have an operational need to maybe grow their product, maybe transfer it from one location to another, maybe optimize it, maybe work on ergonomics, safety, those particular areas. And then we also provide some consultancy in the regulatory and quality space where we work with clients to get a better, stronger compliance position as being and working in the FDA regulated or EU or other environments.
So that sounded very technical. So give me an example of a project that you've worked on that did some of the things that you just said.
Sure. Yeah. Actually, I'm pleased to say that we still have our first client work with us, still do a lot of work with
Excellent.
them. I think we're on project 13 or 14. And that started out, it was a medical device project. And that started out where we were going to completely revamp it and go to a different generation of it because there was some issues that needed to be managed with the current product. And that's very common in the industry. With that, I got the opportunity to work then on increasing the production of that product. And through working with the assembler and working with the device manufacturing component manufacturer is able to increase the delivery to market from 9% to 30% and capture it more for them.
9% to 30%. Why?
Right. It was a life-saving drug, and they needed to increase. They wanted to increase that. It was their largest product that they had at that point in time, and I believe they were just bought out, and now I believe it's their second largest revenue-generating product. And so, adding value and providing that technical solution for them was one of the crowning moments early on with RemTech and the RemTech career. I later went on to help them. When you manufacture a medical device, there are components that are made at various locations sometimes and are brought together and assembled to be able to provide the final product. We actually focused in on one area of that. It took them from a very old, archaic process into a new, it was a stepwise change, highly automated. It had in-process quality checks that were not present and resident with the previous generation of the manufacturing operation. And that was a big win because when we did all the testing, put together the dossier and submitted that as what's called a prior approval submission with the FDA, received approval inside of 22 or 24 days, I forget.
Wow, that's impressive. So that sounds like you being able to increase, it sounds a lot of like industrial, it almost ties in a lot of different areas, whether it be mechanical engineering, industrial engineering. What's your degree?
Well, I actually started out with a civil engineering degree.
Okay.
And then I got my master's at Villanova, and that was in environmental engineering and water resource management. And then from there, I actually, prior to that, worked in the military. And in the military, I was in the Corps of Engineers. So I had that civil engineering background, that basis. And as part of that experience, I learned a lot about communicating with people, leadership. I had 30-some people as a lieutenant. Was deployed to Desert Storm. Learned a lot about myself with those types of experiences early on. From that experience, then I came back and I got started in sales. That lasted about 6 months. Because it wasn't aligned with where I really wanted to head.
Yeah.
I'm now a registered professional engineer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I have my certified pharmaceutical industry professional.
What's that?
Certification. That is a competency-based certification that the International Society of Pharmaceutical Engineers used to have back in the day. And it was 7 pillars of knowledge that you had to demonstrate a level of competency in. And you took a test and then got your designation after working through the program itself. So pretty proud of that one at this point. Like I said, it's no longer offered, but it's something that we're still able to carry.
Sure. No, that's neat. Well, just in talking to you earlier, you were saying that you had different pieces of experience, and just like Sean had said, when Sean worked at GSK, then he went to a company that did manufacturing for the pharma, and his experience with with GSK helped that, and then he went to Merck.
Yeah.
And just in what you were telling me, you worked at Wyeth, which is now Pfizer. Were you there for the crossover?
Yes,
you
I was.
were.
2009.
So you did that. Then you had, what did you after that?
After Wyeth?
Yeah, you were a plant manager, right?
That is correct. Well, after Wyeth was purchased by Pfizer, I was there for several years, got a lot of great experience working with some very, very talented people. Pfizer's got some great science, and I'm really pleased to see that they're one of the leading candidates with the current COVID vaccinations and whatnot. But then after working at Pfizer, I was recruited and attracted to a company called Endo, local to Malvern, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And there I ran the engineering department for the generic business inside of Endo. And so I had the full control of managing capital projects, maintenance, automation, EHS, and things generally reserved for that type of position. At one point in time, then I was tapped on the shoulder and said, hey, we have an opening in our Charlotte facility, and I need somebody to carry the baton there for a while. So I actually was able to transition into operations, and that was a real treat. I really enjoyed working on the shop floor because I had a lot of the background, from an EHS perspective,
Sure.
very safety conscious activities. I'd worked over in Ireland, moved my family over there, ran a 2-year project, and was able to integrate and understand how operations work. But I'd never really run operations at that point. So it was
When
great
you say
experience.
operations, you talk about you ran the plant.
Manufacturing facility, that's correct. Ran the
Cool.
plant, produced product, reported, had P&L responsibility.
Excellent. So that is a tremendous amount of experience, and you having that different pieces of experience. You had the EHS experience, you had the experience in pharma, really pulls it all together to do the plant manager. Now, at what point in time did you spin off to begin doing what you're doing now?
Yes, well, it goes even a little bit beyond that, because when I became a consultant after working at Endo, I was able to get a job actually as an individual that was supporting a 503B pharmacy, and there I had the ability to work in a network.
Wait, a
and
503B pharmacy?
503B pharmacy, that is a compounding where they take prior approved drugs and you dilute them or put them into different configurations and then sell them from there. So you're not really manufacturing, you're really changing the format or changing the delivery. They service hospitals, and that was enacted early on. It's only a couple of years old at this point in time, but that was enacted early on along with the serialization regulations that were signed into effect at that point in time.
I actually heard of compounding where they're literally able to take a piece of Viagra and a piece of Cialis and merge them together to create whatever that drug might be.
Right.
I'm surprised that they don't have problems with patents, or can you only do that? I know we're spinning off, but can you only do that with things that are off patent?
No. What you have to be careful of is there is a drug that has a presentation form in the same form of what you're trying to, and you are out of my area now, of course, so I may be speaking a bit out of turn, but I do have some limited knowledge here of the situation. You can combine products, but it has to be in a different format. It has to be something that is delivered in a way like an IV bag or a syringe or something like that. So you're combining those activities because you're buying the drug.
Right.
Then you can use it and market it. And the FDA did that, of course, to be able to allow another methodology or another pathway to be able to get life-saving drugs to the patients.
All right, so I derailed you. So you were at that 503B pharmacy for a little while, and then what'd you do after that?
And then after that, I got back into the consulting activities and been working with various clientele that we have to again provide those technical services in the regulated environment and working in predominantly those 3 areas that I'd mentioned before. So
how do you find your clients, or do they find you?
That's a great question. We don't have much marketing. I was talking before the show to you here. This is the first time I've done something like this. I'm not that big on social media, although we do have a website. We do have a LinkedIn presence that we utilize. But this is the first time I've done something like this, and largely, my clients find me because I've worked a lot in the industry. I'm very proud to have worked a lot in the industry, and I think it's a noble industry. And I just got a call the other day from somebody that had referred us, for some work at one site where they need some EHS support. Well, having worked in the environmental industry and knowing what's required for your environmental health and safety, having that individual, team report into me as running the network as a plant manager, and then being able to utilize my background, understanding, training. We have the capability of being able to service that need.
You bring a lot of talents to the table. So again, it doesn't matter. I mean, who are your clients? I'm not asking who are your clients, but who are your clients? Are they the Mercks of this world, or are they what type of clients are your clients?
Sure, that's a great question. We do operate in the branded, the larger space, but predominantly our clients are in that small to mid-size operations, and it is in the pharmaceuticals where you're looking at the RX, prescription drug arena, but also across the oral solid, the OTC, over-the-counter drugs, Tylenol, things like that you buy off the counter, and some of the nutraceutical space, as well as working in nutraceuticals, performance enhancements.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. We talk about that, but also in the aseptic and sterile filling processing. That's a big and up-and-coming market.
What is it?
Sterile filling and aseptic filling process.
What in the world is that?
That's an injection.
Oh, well, it sounds like it. For what is that? Like Botox?
Yeah. Well, it could be Botox. Yeah, something like that. But the COVID vaccines, those are considered sterile, injectables in the marketplace. And of course, that's the one that the FDA has a very significant concern, because you're bypassing, the normal immune system in the body has when you ingest food that may not be fully ripe or anything. Your body has the acid to be able to break that down, but when you inject it directly into the body, it has a ability to provide much more of an impact if it's not
Gets
pure.
there faster, that's for sure.
Exactly, yes, without a doubt.
So here's I don't know if you know the answer to this, because I'm trying to get my arms around it. How many pharmaceutical companies are out there? I mean, you think you get the Merck, you get the Pfizers, but you referenced the middle size, small size. Are there thousands of them out there?
Thousands.
There really are.
There really are, yes.
And are we in a Mecca area for that? Because I know Johnson & Merck's headquarters is right there. Is that their world headquarters in Pennsylvania?
I believe it's in New Jersey. I believe it's in White House, New Jersey. But the engineering group, the global engineering group, is out of
West Point.
West Point, thank you.
And then Pfizer's
out of New York, and Pfizer has their technical operations headquartered, I believe, in PPAC.
All right, but I thought Wyeth, wasn't that Wyeth's?
Wyeth's world headquarters used to be in Madison, New Jersey, and it moved down to Collegeville.
Yeah.
Yes.
But there's a lot of pharmaceuticals in the Delaware Valley.
That's correct. We are in the Northeast Corridor is known for its pharmaceutical presence.
It is.
Absolutely. But there's pharmaceuticals popping up all over the place now. Another hot spot, of course, is in the Raleigh-Durham. You see Merck is there from last week, and that's where Sean operates out of. But of course, the West Coast has a big presence for sterile fill and operations, and because it's close to the tech centers that are there, because that's what we're all about, is deploying that science.
Well, it's where all the people are.
Exactly.
Exactly. So believe it or not, we're up on break already.
Oh.
So stay tuned. We'll be back with you in a few moments.
Great. Thank you.
Have you saved enough for retirement? Are you financially prepared for an emergency or unexpected event? Have you thought about your financial future?
Hi, I'm Mike Menninger, founder of Menninger & Associates Financial Planning. For over 20 years, we have been answering our clients' questions just like these as we develop unique and comprehensive financial plans tailored to meet their needs. When addressing your financial plan, we incorporate your entire financial picture, including taxes, estate planning, as well as investment planning and retirement planning. So call us today for a complimentary, no-obligation consultation.
A unique approach to financial planning.
Welcome back to Financial Planning and Explaining. I'm still here with Bob Matje. We derailed a little bit when we started going down the pharmacies and stuff like that. But hey, you know what?
It's a complex industry.
It triggered the question. But let's get back to RemTech. How long has RemTech been there doing what you're doing now? When did you form that company?
Sure. Actually, RemTech did start in 2009, but at that point in time, I had started it because I was actually doing structural work for individuals. I was providing consultant services because of the professional engineering license, and it was actually more of a hobby. In 2016, we reorganized. At that point in time, I have a partner, John Hartwig, and he complements me very well because I work with the upfront manufacturing aspects of the work. He's automation, packaging expertise,
Two very complementary.
Very complementary. Now he also has manufacturing capability and expertise, and of course I had packaging group reporting into me as part of some of the project management experience, or I should say the plant management experience that I had previously. But we provide, like I said, those technical solutions predominantly in that GMP environment for our pharmaceutical
GMP?
Good manufacturing practice.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that is the guidelines that the FDA has put out, but it's generally known as the regulations across the board that regulators will come in and audit you against and determine are you in compliance or not in compliance and why. And that's an ever-growing field, and the compliance aspect of the industry is only getting tighter and tighter as we progress.
I understand the only right. The financial services and HIPAA are the two industries that probably have that. We compete for having more compliance.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. That is absolutely correct.
But you, by the sound of it, really know how to navigate him. You were talking about you pulled something off at the FDA in 22 to 24 days or something like that, which sounds miraculous.
Well, you say you, but I was part of a team.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah, that actually did that, and credit to the project manager, credit to the client, credit to the regulatory people inside our organization that drove that, because that was fairly miraculous. That's not something that you see every day, particularly for, this was a sterile injectable product, and it's something that we are pretty proud of. But it took a lot of work. It took a lot of understanding the details, and that's what makes a successful project, having a very fixed view of where you're going, and then managing the change as it goes along, so that there's a clear understanding of what that impact is, and making sure that change is relatively understood, through the management chain. It can be very, very tough, and in particular, as clients are looking for greater value, greater flexibility, greater ability to use and gain competitive advantages for the facilities that they're building, all while still making sure that it's safe, it's compliant, and it's going to meet the intended outcome.
Of course. Well, that's an aspect of the overall project is the FDA. Your EHS experience, is that something that you just find that adds to it, or do companies actually hire you for the EHS?
We do both. We do both. Just before this, I got a call from one of my mentors who I've been staying in contact with for several years, several decades now, and he asked, hey, do you have someone that can help us out looking at a process hazardous analysis on this particular operation? And yes, we do. We have people that have worked in pharma companies, have had these types of systems that they had to make sure we're safe, and that is a big part. When I talk to project teams, the first thing I say is, and as a plant manager, when I first stand up in front of people, I say, listen, my priorities in this order are your safety. I want you to go home the way you came to work.
Right.
I think that's very important. But then the next thing I say is, and followed right behind that, and very close to that, is quality. And quality is meeting requirements, but is in the context of safety of the patients and the patient safety. And then of course we talk about the delivery and making sure that we commit to deliver, we deliver on time, and of course the cost has to be there to round it all out.
Of course.
But those are the general principles that I lay out there, because it's important to establish what the priorities are, and making sure that everybody understands and rallies behind what that project is to do. But setting safety up in front as a value is one of the first things. It then becomes execution, delivery, cost.
Okay. So do you find that you work on one big project at a time, or a multitude of little projects at a time? What do you find happens with you? Yes, right.
Yes, so we have a number of projects where we have people that are embedded right now in helping. Like I said, we have one client that we're improving their compliance position at this point in time. We're helping them look at their SOPs, their method development, their lab operations. We've done a number of projects with them. My partner actually installed a new packaging line for them, as well as provided them with health hazard assessments. So we've provided a very broad range of services to them that we're very proud of, the capability to do that, but it's because of the networks that we've built. We don't necessarily have all of those capabilities in-house because some of them are very special. You need a medical doctor, a toxicologist to a health hazard assessment. We have those contacts to be able to bring those to bear, to be able to provide that value to the client at the end of the day. And so they see us as solution providers for them that allow them to contact us and say, hey, can you help me with this? What's the regulation around that? So those are small projects that we kind of work towards. When you install a new capability inside a facility, then you're talking a larger project because that needs to be planned. It needs to be programmed. You need to understand what your outcome is and what the potential future build out might be looking down the road. And that's all crystal ball stuff. And that all takes alignment because you're going to have people that are looking at it from the perspective of, well, I want to use it for development purposes, or perhaps I want to use it for manufacturing purposes, or it's going to support the growth of the product, or it's going to provide a mechanism to allow us to optimize the existing products that we have in the network right now. So those are all things that need to be defined and determined up front because invariably, as things change, and they will because business change, it's not a static object. You need to be in a position where you can make those changes in a controlled fashion.
Of course. Well, the consulting, and I was in consulting the first 12 years of my career, environmental engineering, and one of the things I've come to the realization is the value of a consultant is more than you know, because I know that I'm not good at certain things. You hire somebody who is good at it because, quite frankly, they're going to get it done faster and cheaper than I would. In other words, stay in your lane.
Right.
And I learn and understand. If you think about it, I'm a consultant as a financial planner. Accountants are consultants. And almost amazing how many people that you deal with on a daily basis is a consultant. So clearly that's the value that you're bringing to the table. And I can see just in our discussion here today and before the show, the value you bring because you have such a plethora of experience. Your time at the GSK, I'm sorry, at the Wyeth, the plant manager, your EHS, your time at the Corps of Engineers. It's just remarkable all the different things you bring to the table. And I just think that's excellent. Now, you had even said that you worked with Sean in that you hired Yonkers, which means that you guys were effectively serving as the project manager for a substantially larger project, weren't you?
That is correct. Yeah, I was for a time in Pfizer. I was working down in Puerto Rico, and they had several facilities down there. One of which they were closing, and they were transferring products from one location to another. And I was actively engaged in a number of those activities, and that's where we interviewed several firms, for the handful of projects that we had. And Sean and his firm eventually came out on top for one of the projects that we had down in Barceloneta. So it was an opportunity. To be able to work with him, then it was nice.
Do you still do that type of thing with RemTech?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. We do partner with various organizations, and that's what I'm saying. Yes, I have a varied background, but it's really the strength and the skill of the team.
Of course.
That you bring together to be able to solve the need, and that's speed to market is everything in the pharmaceutical industry. I often look at what we do as a necessary evil because we're spending money, but at the end of the day, you're gaining that value, and to make sure that you get there as quickly as possible with the least amount of investment necessary to be able to have a great flexible facility. I'm working on one project right now where they're putting a totally new delivery, a new product into the facility, and it's got some potent aspects associated with it. They hadn't done something like that before.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's something that a very small amount has a pharmacological effect. So if you get a whiff or something like that, you may have a reaction to that particular product that is being manufactured. So obviously what's very key there is making sure that the worker is protected.
Of course.
In that environment. So we, I was brought in to look at how that facility was laid out and had some immediate changes which were of value add because I was very involved in an organization called the International Society of Pharmaceutical Engineers. And I got to work with some very talented people that developed this oral solid dose manufacturing baseline guideline, it was called. And I co-wrote with some very knowledgeable people from AstraZeneca and Sanofi, the section around managing potent compounds. So I was very intimate with the knowledge of how to, make sure that you're able to manufacture, because it's not just the equipment operation, but when in a contained environment, but you've got to sample, you've got to take data, you've got to maintain all of those things that Sean talked about last week. That having that experience and working in that environment and knowing the impact of decisions that are being made now and programming that into the engineered solution gives you a much better chance of success in driving revenue output capability at the back end of the project.
Of course. Well, and you go back to the QA/QC part. It's important that the output meets certain specifications.
Yes.
Because if not, the company is not making money throwing batches out.
That's correct. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
what do they do when they throw a batch out? Do they grind it up and put it back into their original, or do they literally just throw it away?
Well, no, you don't literally throw it away. Most of it gets incinerated.
But it's right. But it doesn't get ground up into its original components.
No. That would be reprocessing, and you have to have procedures around that allow you to do something along those lines. But generally, reprocessing material is not done in the pharmaceutical industry. It's not that's like testing quality into your product. Oh, if it doesn't pass,
Yeah, right.
That was the big Bard Laboratories lawsuit that actually formulated much of the basis of the law around how pharmaceuticals govern and operate what they're able to put onto the marketplace. And that was simply around the fact that they kept testing and testing. Oh, it passed. Well, we can release now.
Yeah.
And that was what was
So
put
in our
in.
closing minute, tell me what you think is the coolest thing that you've ever encountered or did, or if there's 1 minute that could.
Yeah, no, I tell you, some of the stuff that's coming to fruition these days with short sleeve manufacturing and with single processing and being able to push a button, have a tablet come out the other end, the automation, the Internet of Things, the in-processing capability for defining how your product is coming out and looking at the how the quality is being measured and then being able to react real time for real-time release activities. It's astounding. It's astounding, and the amount of data and information, and coupling that aspect of it with how's your facility operating right now? Am I using too much utility?
Yeah, okay. I didn't even think about that as another added layer.
And looking at it from the perspective of analyzing the maintenance of your operations, am I getting the most value? Am I having the uptime that I need? If I'm not, what's causing that activity? Am I over calibrating this particular device? Can I go for less calibration? Because what I find every time I calibrate it's in calibration, so why calibrate 4 times a year? Maybe I can ratchet that back to 6 months a year. And all of that has, when you're talking about cost of goods, and you're talking about patient access, and you're talking about lower costs so that those patients can have access, all that goes into that equation.
It also comes down to the bottom line.
That's it. That's exactly it. That's what I'm saying. If you can produce a lower cost drug, then that directly translates to patient access. Patient access directly translates to a healthier world.
Yep. Well, that's good. Well, thank you very much, Bob. I'd like to take a moment. I want you to look in the camera and tell people how they can get a hold of you.
Certainly. You can reach us best. My email is rmatje@remtechllc.com. We do have a website. It's www.remtechllc.com.
Well, Bob, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much for joining us this week. We hope you had a pleasure learning a lot about what Bob does as a consultant to the pharmaceutical industry. They bring, it sounds like, a tremendous amount of value to the table in an area that I have to be honest with you, I'm not extremely knowledgeable about. So some of the things that he said went right over my head, but it's all good.
Sounds like me with my financial planning.
Well, thank you very much for joining us this week, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great week, everyone.